and welcome back to Anaheim, California, here on the Blizzcon stage for the HGC 2017 Championship. How you guys doing out there? You having a blast? Fantastic. We just saw our first quarterfinal match where we had a dominant victory by MVP Black. MVP Black. That's hard to say, guys. Over Team Freedom from North America. And of course, up next, our second quarterfinal match, two Titans out of EU. That is Team Expert versus Team Dignitas. It's going to be an incredible matchup. Thank you for being here with us. And of course, if you're watching on stream, thank you as well for joining us. Let's head on over to our desk with Kylaris and the crew to learn a little bit more about these teams and get ready for our next match. Thank you.
That's right, one of the most anticipated fixtures in our round of 8 is about to go down. It will be Team Dignitas going up against Team Expert. Joining me on the desk, actually the same people that were joining me on the previous desk. So not really much room for me to actually introduce you. You guys have already been here for a little while. Gentlemen, we saw a pretty dominant position there by MVP Black in their previous series, but I think a lot of people have been looking forward to what you could argue will be the closest series here in the round of 8. Dignitas against Team Expert.
At least from the looks of it, right? We have two European teams going up against one another here. The number 2 and the number 3 seeded team from their region in Europe in Dignitas versus Expert. And now, what I'm going to say is a bit of a paraphrase here, but Dignitas basically asked, why does the heaven hate us? Why do we have to go up against Expert here? Yeah. They're the only team here that wins their group and doesn't get to go up against the North American team, as well as North America has been doing, and I'd love to see them do well. You know, this is Expert. They're a very strong team. It's a very strong first match.
The power levels are still quite different from continent to continent when you consider that, from what we've seen traditionally here, especially in 2017. But Jay, looking at how these two teams match up, it could be quite close for these guys.
It could be incredibly close. There's something to be said about familiarity. You look at Dignitas, Fnatic, some of those epic series, and then you go over to Korea, you've got Ballistics versus MVP Black. You can't get away with some of the tricks that you can otherwise when you go up against somebody that you've gone up against so many times. So we know Expert knows all the tricks. Expert has a few tricks of their own, obviously. So Dignitas is very well aware of that, so we'll see.
And who knows in a best-of-3 format. Let's take a look at the updated bracket here as we continue on through the round of 8. And we do have that 2-0 for MVP Black, looking to secure themselves another World Championship. Meanwhile, our next matchup will be Team Dignitas going up against Team Expert. Skimmy, you've got the opportunity to actually commentate Expert, I believe, whilst you were at the Western Clash, as well as, you know, view Dignitas from afar, because obviously they didn't qualify for that Western Clash. In fact, Expert was the team that you could argue trumped Dignitas in being able to get that spot.
I mean, the kind of story or the narrative for Expert, for me kind of personally, it feels a bit like the European Team Freedom. This is a team that really come out of nowhere. They've really shown a lot of respect and really climbed their way to the top of this ladder, so to speak, right? So this matchup, it's quite close. There's no real definitive, in my opinion, personally, as to where this one goes. They've obviously had a lot of league play over the Korean boot camp to give the power levels between them and Korea as to where these European teams really fit in the scale of things. It's interesting to hear everyone's different opinion, but it is an all-European affair. One of these guys will have to go home, and the North American fans will be happy.
And I want to see what kind of Team Expert we're going to be having here. You look at the team, and you know much has been said about Expert, their quirky picks, but they've really gone into a very standard drafting pattern as well. They're fundamentally very strong, Expert. And they say they follow their own philosophy for what is strong, what is good. They don't adapt too much to the other teams. They haven't become more normal because they want to fit in or be normal. It's just what they believe is good. Yep. So I want to see here, are we going to have things that look a lot like MVP Black, standard picks, high win rate heroes, Merlin Rhaegar, or are we going to see a little bit of that quirkiness factor come out here, going up against Dignitas?
Well, we're about to go into this best-of-3 in a moment, of course. Team Dignitas will go up against Team Expert, as old teammates here on the BlizzCon stage are going to be reignited as enemies.
So this is my 3rd time competing at BlizzCon. I competed here in 2015, where I actually made it to the grand final. Unfortunately, I lost. I'm blushing over that. I also competed in 2016, where I made it to the semi-final. So hopefully this year I'm going to break that downward trend and get the trophy. Facing Expert is always scary, but facing them in a best of 3 is even worse. They have a lot of really cool strategies, and they love to make teams adapt. And adapting in only 2 games is really tough.
For us, it'll mostly just be about playing what we're confident in, playing our own game the best that we can, and kind of just trying to respect what they're going to do, but not focus too much on things that they can play.
We're playing Team Dignitas in the first round, in the quarterfinals, and they're a team we've had a lot of rivalry against.
They know our playstyle, and we know their playstyle more or less. So I would expect even games, and there is no result that would be surprising. So I was competing at Blizzcon 2 years ago. I was in Team Dignitas, and we actually have 2 members from this team that played there, because Ataro Angel was also at the same team, and we managed to go to finals.
So this is my first time going into BlizzCon. 2 of my teammates have been here before, but I'm completely new, and I'm super excited to play on like the biggest stage there is. I wouldn't be as satisfied if we didn't make top 4 though, so Dignitas is going down.
Let's give a huge BlizzCon welcome to our red team from Europe. Their first time on the BlizzCon stage, Team Expert. And over in the blue corner, making their return to BlizzCon, it's none other than Team Dignitas! Captains, please come center stage and shake hands. Gentlemen, may the best man win. Let's head over to the desk with Kylaris and our gentlemen for more info about this match.
A loud response from the crowd here as a fan favorite in Team Dignitas makes their way to the stage. But of course, it's not as cut and dry as all that. Team Expert have garnered themselves a lot of fans over the past year and have been able to perform on big stages, such as the Western Clash. The one thing I want to ask you guys, in Phase 2 of HGC Europe, there were 2 games between these 2 teams. 3-2 and 3-2. 1 winning each of those series. So it went absolutely down to the wire every single time. And overall, they were fantastic series to watch. Very, very equally matched, these 2 teams.
Yeah, in every sense of the word, Kylaris, this is a derby. They're 2 different teams, but they feel almost like, in a way, like teammates battling each other. They know each other so well. They have close matches. They scrim and practice together. And they've played against each other on the podium. As much as Expert here is an underdog against Dignitas, just like Freedom was an underdog against MVP Black, I dare say this one is going to be a whole lot closer.
The whole thing I see about these teams is that you reference Team Freedom as the way that Experts kind of come up, except they're about 6 months ahead of where Freedom is, right? So they look more refined, but it still seems like they're refining, as we talked about, their meta. And then on the other side, we see Dignitas after the midseason brawl, they weren't satisfied. We see Mene switching over more to the flex role, Snitch more into the carry role. Yeah. So this has been an adaptation period, which is one of the big reasons why they didn't make it to the second Western Clash. But I feel like they've had enough time at this point to kind of get into their top form. I just wonder how it's going to play out.
I think mentality is going to be a big thing here. If you're coming on the train for Dignitas, they've got everything to lose in this sort of state. Bakery says, you know, I've been to finals. This time I actually want to make it to the grand final. I want to show that Europe still are that #1 region. Expert, as you mentioned, yeah, they're coming in as that new team looking to try and upset the feathers, so to speak, right? So they want to try and cause a bit of a ruckus. End of the day, though, it comes down to the ideal of it is Europe against Europe. One of these guys is not going to make it. I mean, It's going to be a tough order.
Yeah, it definitely is. Of course, you can cheer for both of these teams as we continue things out in the HGC universe with the cheer bar, the global cheer bar. To see our progress so far, we are so close to 27 million. I can almost smell it there. So make sure to cheer for either Team Dignitas or Team Expert over in chat, as it's all welcome indeed. You can get yourself banners, sprays, and of course, the Deadly Chaos Lizard. It's just a little bit away, so just gotta move that on a bit, get it going. Of course, right, we have now this best of three almost on the way between these two teams. Team Dignitas have said many, many times that they thrive off the crowd. They play best when they're on a stage like this, like Blizzcon. Everybody wants to be here, but I think that for teams like Dignitas, especially teams like Fnatic as well, they get fueled so much by that energy.
And it's one thing to say that, but it's actually true. We've seen it.
Yes, we have.
Dignitas, every time where you think they are going to be losing, look at their amazing run at the mid-season brawl about 5 months ago, where they just went on a tearing rampage, absolutely leaving South Korean teams left and right, then bringing it to Fnatic, who looked much better than them, but they just, you know, they have that magical quantity, and I can only imagine that crowd over there is a big part of that reason.
That's right, that's spice. Let's find out which is our first battleground here going into this best of three as we head over and we find out Dignitas is going to pick Infernal Shrines. What do you make of it, guys?
I make of it that Dignitas probably picked the best map to go against Expert. Expert, several months ago in Phase 1, had some very interesting split pushes that they kind of learned from some of the teams that were here at BlizzCon last year. They got away from that, and I feel that this kind of goes more towards the skirmish style that we see Dignitas play. And if you watch them against Roll20, the Abathur composition that they did, they absolutely dominated from 2 minutes in until the end of the game. They had such control, the macro control, they feel very comfortable on this battleground.
All right, we're getting into the draft here. Europe goes up against Europe here as Team Dignitas against Expert. We get into the draft, a best of three, to find out who goes on to the round of 4.
Yeah, just to further J How's point before, yeah, it's all about setting up that potential. You've got that strategy, once again, being reactive or proactive. Where are you going to be looking to try and go with this draft? How are you going to be trying to utilize your composition? Is it early game focus? Is it focused on a team fight, macro, or even split push? We've seen a lot of support bans coming out so far, but we are going to have that adaptation right out of the gate. ETC banned off by the Expert.
I just wonder if that's going to warrant a Murden ban. Murden has kind of been that top tier, but it also says that, wait a minute, like maybe they let it through. The Abathur composition, both teams are very adept at playing this. We've seen Mene on one side, Adiardi, who I believe they played it as well during opening week, and they had traditionally in the past, so no surprise that Abathur's just taken completely away.
And how could we forget about Expert versus Fnatic at the Western Clash, where Expert, for all intents and purposes, looked like they would take down Fnatic there in that grand finals with an Abathur composition on Infernal Shrines. No way, Jose, says Team Dignitas. They'll be removing that pick.
BTC off the board, Mirrodin becomes the most attractive option there. Such a well-rounded hero, really finding that resurgence as a result of this kit. Arguably so, probably his strongest iteration since he's been released.
One of the things that we've seen Mene play a lot of is Tassadar in Phase 2, especially in opening week as well. He has a phenomenal Tassadar. Tassadar is one of the heroes that we've kind of seen fall in favor a little bit. His win rate has been a little bit lower, but on Infernal Shrines, he contributes to the objective very, very well. He also complements a lot of what we see Snitch do, whether it be the Bala, Greymane, things like that. We'll see if they go that route and if they go early.
Another thing that's possible is that Dignitas would like to lock in their warrior now. They don't have to, though. They have an ace up their sleeves. JPL, the warrior player for Dignitas, can play Stitches here. And as the strategy for Expert is becoming apparent, Muradin, ETC, a kind of warrior choke, the most popular ones, Team Dignitas needs to answer the question, do we want to lock in our warrior now? And the answer is yes, Tyrael and Genji.
This surprises me a bit. The early commitment towards Genji, Uther's kind of fallen off a little bit, so you go with the next best option, somebody that you can dive in with. That's going to be Tyrael. You have the Sanctification. It's an AoE Divine Shield, so to speak. You just have to be on the same page, and this team obviously played together so long, it's going to be a little bit easier to execute, but a little bit surprising they committed to it this early, showing their hands. For now, we'll see what they end up going with afterwards.
I mean, typically speaking, when we see these kind of double support compositions, it's almost a game of chess, right? You pick a support, they pick some counters towards it, you pick another support to try and band-aid, so to speak, what that weakness is now just being countered with. So They've gone for the Tyrrell. We've seen obviously the Chinese region love and adore this hero so much, but this really screams to me they want to find those brawls. They really want to sort of tunnel the Infernal Shrine itself. Bring Expert in.
The one thing this does is that Rhaegar does terrible against Genji Dragon Blades. It forces the double support. Rhaegar is one of the top supports on this because of that lightning bond with his lightning shield at level 1. So it does give you a little bit more question marks in terms of what you're comfortable with. They still go Rhaegar, they get Sonya. You can expect there's probably going to be a bit more protection in the later part of that draft.
Going by the win rates, things look good for Team Expert. Murden is sitting at around 65% win rate in this tournament. That makes him one of the best performing heroes of the entire tournament, together with Rhaegar, who is at 70% win rate. Expert has those most popular of picks, so they're bringing a very standard brand of drafting so far.
It's a lot of shrine control there. Between the Sonya Murden, of course, Rhaegar, we talked about the lightning bond there. That's a lot of clear and a lot of control. Obviously, Tyrael Genji is more just a dive style, so very contrasting parts.
Do they focus their attention towards the solo lane for this ban, do you think? Since I believe in my heart that something like Xaylia versus Athro is going to be a very important lane setup in this match.
I think anytime you draft a Genji on either side, solo lane ceases to have meaning. No one can win the solo lane anymore when Genji can just swift strike in, come out of the shadows, and make that a lopsided affair. So it definitely will need people to be more passive early game.
Team Expert obviously has some knowledge behind the scenes of
not
a common ban at all, and that is one of the huge things. Dignitas sees themselves as one of the best macro-based teams. I see them the same way, and this is one way to keep the macro focus off.
I mean, this is why I was kind of like looking at this ban. What can it actually really describe to us? Both Dignitas and Expert really drafting for that sort of point control, drafting for that clash.
Wow.
Removing the Cigar removes that macro idea, but yeah.
This is interesting, isn't it? We just described it in the first series. Genji, swift strike in, very mad dash, very long distance. Brightwing teleport in, Emerald Wind in the midst of the foes to split them up. Karazim, bonus healing, bonus movement speed.
And it's an old favorite for Team Dignitas, with Bakery probably going to be playing that Karazim.
This is a very apparent fighting strategy for Team Dignitas.
But this is what we learned from their Korean bootcamp. They sort of discovered, so to speak, that no more is it a case of picking a strong healer and just looking to try and out-sustain. You have those weaknesses in terms of siege, in terms of macro play, but by going niche, you patch all of that. Hey, you have now a lot of damage, you have a lot of utility, you have a lot of wave clear, you have a global on that side as well. Dignitas now forcing the hand of Expert with these last two picks.
An Expert needs to make a choice here. Do they go for an area of effect silence to try and break this apart? Do they go for more protection or more damage? There's a lot of options, JR.
There's a lot of options, and I instantly think of Nick's hero, the Vala, and I was going to say, we have basically Vala, Tracer, Chromie are the main three, Li Ming's kind of that backup option. You got to have some self-preservation back there. The Tassadar pick's a bit surprising in this composition,
yeah.
But now I really wonder, is this going to be a Xaylia Illidan that we haven't seen in a while? Will be the Malthael. That's why it warranted the Lucio ban. We'll see the Malthael go out there. There's a lot of options for Xaylia. He tends to run more towards the Arthas on Infernal Shrines at times to help with the clear, help with the control. Really curious what this last pick's going to be.
By going for this Tesla ban, this screams to me that, well, I mean, suppose Dignitas banning the Lucio is the case of Sonya's going to be the main part. They want to make sure that she's really amplified. The Tesla shield, much the same as the Valor, is going to empower her to do her job. But if you actually look at these heroes on the side, once again we have the argument, Murden has self-sustain. You're then going to have Sonya with self-sustain. Li Ming, if she goes for dominance at level 4, will have self-sustain. This is a composition which can run with the wind. They can stick around for as long as possible, and they have double support on top of that as well.
I think that's the key here, really, Skimmy, that you have a set of heroes that are fairly independent. When they get split away from Emerald Wind, you have that invincibility and invisibility in Tassadar, and the teleport and everything. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. Now, for the final pick on Dignitas, I think they had a number of choices, but it had to be some kind of wave clear. Because the rest of this team, it's all about that level 10 plus team fight.
The one thing I want people to focus on, this is something we were researching the other day, is the way that Xaylia plays.
Yep.
We talked about the anchoring in game 1 from Murden, but they play it a little bit differently. They use it for engages, but they also use it defensively in that they will rotate a 4-man push, take walls. They try and take small little bits to get experience, soften up lanes for the future punishers. Now, if you actually just watch the mini-map, because watching Leoric is probably not the most exciting part of the game, but you'll watch Leo just go stand in a bush. He's basically unkillable. He's got a slow, he's got a cleave.
Yeah.
He make sure that he protects their flank, and then he can always Wraith walk out. It's a big part of what Dignitas likes to do.
The cool thing for me is when he's going to swing that mace, they're slowed, Smite's going to come across, they're sped up. So it's a case of like, I suppose like a patchwork version of Lucio, right? We are going to go force that fight. You are not running away from us. And as you say, yeah, Leoric will be that mobile ward, always giving vision, always allowing him to be one step ahead when it comes to that macro game.
There's options as well on the side of Dignitas, because if they don't want to go for the Genji Brightwing bomb, you can technically use it with Leoric and Wraithwalk and position exactly where you want to be.
And Tyrael.
And
I'm
Tyrael
throw
as well.
his sword down. When we're ready, I'll hit Q again. And
I guess you could do it on Karazim too. You punch in with the Radiant Dash, Brightwing. The timing needs to be good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So looking at this, guys, where do you think, who has power in this draft, or is it too even to call?
That's the cool thing about this draft. There's power on either side. You have the impermeability of Team Expert. Standard, wave clear, functional in every way. Utility, vision. And then you've got Team Dignitas. They pigeonhole themselves in one direction a lot more.
Yep.
It's a deep dive. They require coordination, execution, and they need to win the team fights because they have a weaker sway on the map.
One thing that Expert loves to do, they have better shrine control. They win the Punisher. They understand the early ones won't be there. Dignitas will have a bit of a soft one. If Dignitas, doing their research, knows and understands, Expert will not push with the first Punisher or two. They'll try and push another lane. Dignitas, I think, very familiar with this. So a little bit stagnant early game potentially, but post level 10, definitely for Dignitas.
Short thoughts?
Well, my final words really would be the case of if they can take out the Sonya, which seems to be a crux of what Expert are after, things can work in favor of Dignitas.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to get into it as Europe goes up against Europe. The winner of this is able to move on to the round of 4. Of course, there's only game 1 to start things off. Let's head over to our commentary team for Dignitas versus Expert.
That is right, Caleris. Europe versus Europe. Something feels very natural about this Caldor. It feels like we're at home.
Yeah, it definitely does. The draft, on the other hand, is super interesting.
Yes.
Because on Dignitas' side, you can really see that they took a lot from the boot camp in Korea, whereas Expert, as they had it over, said from the start, we feel really set in our meta. We feel our meta is strong. We can play the same here, and it shows in their draft. They have again Sonya, which was a huge staple in Phase 2 for them in the European scene, and Muradin at that front line. Bad Bunny is going to have a lot of fun with him.
Well, let's see who can pull ahead here as we move into the battleground. It will be Infernal Shrines as Team Dignitas will be taking on Team Expert, a matchup that we've seen time and time again in the HGC, but yet we have not seen it on land, so I'm very excited for it, Caldor.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic, and both of the teams were very curious about how this is going to go. So I expect a close series with Bakery to the left on Karazim, JPL on Tyrael at that front line, Mena on Brightwing here, the second support, Snitch on Genji, and last but not least, Zelia on Leoric. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Dignitas!
Now, there are a lot of fans for Dignitas, but on the right side, Team Expert, they are here to aim and please here. It's going to be Bad Bunny playing Muradin, a Thorough Angel on the Sonya. Following up, we're going to have ADRD on the Tassadar, Nick playing Li Ming, and finally, it's going to be Muradin being played as well. Give it up for Team Expert.
This is definitely going to be a super interesting game here, since if you look at the two compositions, we talked about Expert having a lot of their comfort picks. They have Rhaegar with Muradin here, there's a lot of wave clear, Muradin has the jumps into the backline, and Sonya. It is the hero for Ethereal, and he can do so much with her, especially on this map. Dignitas, on the other hand, have a very strong draft too. Our analysts have talked a bit about how you could always try to isolate targets after level 10 when Genji goes in, or Leoric, and you want to utilize Emerald Wind. The problem for Dignitas is that compared to what Expert is running here, they have a very execution-heavy draft, so everything needs to be absolutely on point if they want to put the pressure on the Expert.
And the execution stemmed from Snitch, who is playing the Genji, and he has improved dramatically throughout this entire year, becoming one of the best players that is available for Dignitas. So watch out for Snitch, who will be playing that Genji. On the other side, as mentioned, Bad Bunny is going to be one that you're going to have to watch. He will set up his team. And additionally, Team Expert, they have played Leap in the past. They have been aggressive enough. With Brightwing having a cleanse, probably not going to see that, but it's something that Team Dignitas has to worry about.
Yeah, Expert has played stuff like this quite a bit, and it's usually when they feel they can go for one-shots.
Yeah.
If they think that on the opponent side there's a lot of heroes that are very vulnerable to one-shot potential, then they sometimes use the leap option, especially if they fall a bit behind. So it's something that they can always show. And Dignitas expected some cheese. They were actually very worried about the series. Traditionally, they are the team that comes out ahead in the direct fight. But Expert has shown so many different strategies and adaptations in the past that Dignitas was very worried when they saw who they had to go up against in the round of 8.
Especially when you consider what happened in the HGC when it came to league play. You would see Team Expert take the lead first in a best of 3, but the best of 5 would come out to usually favor Dignitas. With this being a best of 3, Team Expert could come out with 2 wins right away and move forward. Now, the first shrine does activate. We'll have it up and available on the bottom side. Team Dignitas brings the work. Their best wave clear down to clear it out.
And Sonya is starting to make the rotation into the middle now. Now, of course, they are trying to get the experience here as well. Sonya keeping busy, Brightwing trying to meet it, but that's, of course, a losing matchup for Brightwing. But the 4 versus 4 is what we're focusing our attention on, as it's getting quite dicey here. With Mena even jumping in to help out, they want this shrine, they need this shrine, because in the meantime, Sonya is rotating up once again, giving even more experience to Team Expert.
Team Expert willing to give it away here and get that experience lead 26-12, but Expert wants to delay as much as they can, dropping down a couple of side storms and dropping some orbs from Nick will delay here for Dignitas, but ultimately Dignitas will get this Punisher. Now, where do they gain the lead here? Do they push on the bottom, break down the turrets, or do they spread out once again and move towards 10 to stay with Expert?
Their goal, of course, is now to close that gap in experience that Expert was able to get by focusing onto the top and mid lane with Sonya. So at this point, we have Dignitas splitting into mid and top, but 3 heroes are still pushing with the Punisher at the bottom of the map, making sure that they can at least get a tower or 2 to close that experience gap, and they already succeeded in doing so.
The best part about these 3 heroes, though, is that somebody gets jumped on. In particular, that Tassadar or that Li Ming, all 3 of them can dive forward and try to get a kill. That's why they left these 3 down here. Team Expert, knowing this, allowed Bad Benny to tank that Punisher, and they defend easily.
Yeah, the mobility that we have for Dignitas is, of course, absolutely crazy. Every single hero on this setup has the opportunity to move out of a fight. Now, I also want to point something out real quickly as we're talking about the setup that Expert is running. We have Kala's Light taken as the level 4 talent, so the extra armor here, which makes a lot of sense if you look at the setup they are running. Traditionally, you would expect Life Leech to come out, but that's more so the case if you have that range damage dealer, that auto attacker that really provides most of the heavy impact in the battle, which here is not the case. You want to keep Sonya safe, and this is where the extra armor comes in quite handy.
But the real question, Caldor, what do you think about the Leoric build?
I smell a bait.
Team Dignitas and Team Expert will set their own bait eventually here on the side as they're on the bottom, pushing in, get some experience, but this is also they can grab the mercenary camps. Team Expert is willing to sniff us out, though. They have a composition that can be aggressive, especially with Muradin being able to move in and force those fights. So Bad Benny will be the one to start those engagements, and if Sonya ever peels down, expect a team fight.
And you know, I mean, you were, of course, baiting a bit with that Leoric build, but the 13-16 is going to have the most effect against Sonya herself. It's unlikely that you're going to get the hit against Li Ming and reduce her damage output by those 50% that you get with the Ominous Raids. So you need to focus on Sonya as she is at that front line. And that can really help, since Aethero, as we stated before, is really a staple in this entire composition, and he usually just bodies opponents.
Well, a tactical pause here as we set up and get ready for the next Shrine phase. Teams talking about what they want to do for that push in. So we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a second here as we move in, but the crowd being beautiful as ever, all turning out here, watching the EU match. Ooh, a couple of Dignitas fans there. You guys seem pretty excited.
Now, the cool thing in the game right now is that you can really tell that these two are really familiar with each other.
Yeah.
Because we have 0 kills so far. It was just a traditional trade-off at the start. From the get-go, Expert knew, hey, we don't really want to commit to this battle yet. We want to make sure that we get some extra experience on the lanes. We give the Punisher over, and Dignitas equalizes the score. This is really going to come down to level 10s and then the team fights that we're going to see later on.
And the level 10s that you mentioned really stem from that Tyrael and that Genji, the ability to jump forward, drop Sanctification, delete a target, especially with Kerosene damage coming out. The question for me, though, is do we see Palm or do we get that 7-sided strike?
It's actually a good question here. At this point, I would say that with Palm, you can save Genji if he goes into deep. It's a bit of a question what they expect here from Muradin. As you try to isolate a target, normally you would lean towards the 7-sided. It gives you a bit more blow potential. If you get a good combo off with Genji moving in, Brightwing getting the Emerald Wind, and then the isolated target is just locked down, then you can simply blow him away with a 7-sided. So that would be the aggressive version, and I expect that to be come out here.
Now, the thing that's standing out for me, too, is that Brightwing actually didn't move into that cleanse. Now, of course, Kerosene at 16 can move into his own form of cleanse as well, but that might open up the door a little bit here for that Sonya to move into lead.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about the Li Ming behind it. So if Muradin leads with the Stormbolt, Sonya follows up with an additional stun, then Li Ming can get the combo in. Not sure we're going to see Murky here. I know you like that.
That's a good sign right there. top 10 signs, easily.
I would give it a 6.5.
This guy, ooh, murky outfits over there. But continue your point there, the Brightwing phase shift, of course, being maybe a bait to get that leap to come out, knowing that 16 that cleanse is available for Kerosene.
I mean, the problem that you have if you go into leap is you need to blow up a target early on.
Yeah.
You are forced. If you don't kill the target, then you are in trouble. Since Sonya misses out on a lot of the sustain, and oftentimes when you're talking about Infernal Shrines, it's a 5 versus 5 on the Shrine where you want to have that sustain to just carry a team through and win the Punisher. So I'm not quite sure if Expert is really willing to take that risk here. They've shown with that draft that they're not afraid of going toe-to-toe with Team Dignitas when it comes to stable play. But I'm not quite sure if that would be the right move here, because who are you going to choose? If you don't blow them up right away, they will escape. Brightwing has the Emerald Wind. There is also Sanctification to be considered. And if it's Karazim and he doesn't die instantly, he can just dash out.
I think my argument would come from when Brightwing comes in with the phase shift and she starts that Emerald Wind, the leak can interrupt and focus the target. But it is a small timing, it is difficult. We're mostly just discussing the options that are available. But it looks like we are ready to go back into the match.
And I have to stress again, both of these teams were actually really nervous when they saw who they went up against. Dignitas even more so than Expert. On Expert side, we had Bad Benny actually tweet this morning and saying, well, I would argue that we got the easiest team in a round of 8. So he considers Dignitas to be an even weaker opponent than all the North American teams that we heard the analysts talk about earlier.
Team Expert laying down the gauntlet, but can they follow through? And that's what we're here to find out now as we are moving towards level 9. One level away from that 10. We do have a shrine at the very top. Leorth once again up there clearing it for Dignitas, and Team Expert once again seems like they want to move in favor of grabbing the experience, pushing the different lanes here and working on level 10.
For me personally, this really comes down to execution and to concentration today. I've been watching both of these teams now scrim for more than a week, and the one thing that was very telling is that on a good day, they played fantastic, but there were so many days where the coordination was just off a little bit, and that might be exactly what's seeing here. Great play by Team Expert as they get the kill against Bakery. Karazim a little bit too far out and immediately getting punished. Expert gaining some momentum as they're fighting for the Shrine.
That's a huge kill there. First off, you get the level 10, and secondly, you can move in and put Sonya on top of that Shrine with Rhaegar, and they can answer back and get their own clear. Dignitas, with that death alone, gives up on the Punisher, and Team Expert is looking to run with it here. Grabbing damage already on the fort top left, and Team Dignitas has to spread out and work on their own 10.
And that's exactly the problem now. If you are just a little bit off here, you will get punished. And Karazim was just too far forward. So now we are seeing Expert take the Punisher, but Dignitas has answered. They went to the bot lane, and they're actually able to grab a fort here. So at least they're trading structures.
That's what I love about EU versus EU, the macro trades that you usually see from our teams. The moment Karazim got destroyed there, Brightwing went to the bottom with Genji, and they are working on that fort. Now, Tassadar shows up to try and help, but he actually misses out and loses the fort. Team Expert will have to grab at the top side and continue to keep their lead and experience, and this will be very helpful for them as they continue to group up. A Cursion on the back line may have been caught here. Rhaegar is low, getting body blocked by Bad Benny. Woo, a little bit careful there.
Yes, Nish was already thinking about jumping back in again, but of course he was still on cooldown. Also, we need to talk quickly about Karazim once more. He went into Palm over 7-sided, so now the one-shot potential is a little bit reduced, but he can now save especially Genji when Snitch tries to go deep.
Well, at the same time, Murden has yet to pick his heroic. We have seen a lot of Haymaker. I'm not expecting it from Bad Benny. I feel like we would be moving into an Avatar, but a Haymaker against a mobile comp and disrupting their execution could be worth it.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if they commit to that. And I mean, it's Team Expert, so they didn't go into Leap. We still see the Wrath of the Berserker, as expected, Archon as well. But we could definitely see a couple of sneaky plays here by Muradin if they feel that he's safe enough. And we have double support, so that might be the idea here. He still hasn't taken anything, but he will so in the fight when he's actually in trouble. For now, they're just trying to take the camp away. Brightwing still at the top, and that's one of the big assets of Dignitas, the global that they have.
Big engage here on the right side as Bad Benny moves forward. JPL will be on the front, trying to lead forward. Snitch has to use the Dragon Blade, so he's wanting to fight. A Thorough taking the damage here on the front line, but Team Expert looks like they're just going to go for a disengage, and they walk away easily.
Yeah, shield was immediately there from Tassadar, so well played. But I still have to say that I like the invade from Dignitas. So they see that the camp is being attacked, and then they make their move as they know, okay, now we can sneak the camp in. Expert moves away, they don't risk too much. Keep in mind, we only have one kill so far in the entire game, and we're 8.5 minutes in. And that was the one kill against Bakery as he stepped out a bit too far. So both of the teams here playing it super cautious.
playing on a razor's edge here between our two teams. Also need to note there is that Bad Bunny actually interrupted the Tyrael sanctification, or Dignitas may have gone a bit more aggressive. So Sync, while interrupted, is still available for the team. Granted, you're probably not going to see it be used. You want to make sure you have that Dragon Blade available when you do use a Sync, but still something to consider here as Team Expert moves in again here, and they're watching out for the invade that Dignitas has tried to pull off. They're actually getting pretty aggressive, and Sonya, she's coming down to join in.
Yeah, Sonya is going to make that move. 13 for both of the teams. Soon going to be ready. It's going to be ready for the Shrine for sure. So this is really the battle that we are looking towards. We have a 5 versus 5 on even talents. The teams have reached the mid game here, and especially with Ominous Raid, this is something where Sonya is going to have a bit of a harder time to get the damage out.
Are you shaking in your socks? Because I am shaking in my socks right now. The intensity between these two teams is pretty darn aggressive. Team Expert is on the side here while Bad Bunny jumps away.
Yeah, for me it's especially because I know how Dignitas was not looking forward to this match. They were afraid of cheese. So far they haven't gotten that yet, but we could still see Playmaker being used here. And also, of course, this is only map number 1 in this best of 3. And right now, Expert is taking control over the objective.
Dignitas looks scared. Now, granted, they're waiting for that Dragon Blade. That's when they're going to aggressive. Here it is up and available. They turn around and go straight for a Thorough. Thorough backs up straight to his turrets and will be just fine as Dignitas creates space.
That didn't do anything for them, though. That was a huge problem. They created a bit of space, but they didn't isolate anybody. They're going in once again. The sacrification is already on the ground as the Ancestor comes through, saves them. Curson is low, and Snitch gets the kill.
He gets the kill, but Bakery may also get picked up the Haymaker to kick away the palm there, so it has been picked here for Team Expert. They have 4 members still up. They jump in looking for Snitch, but Snitch jumps to the wall. He's trying to retreat. Can Mena be here in time? Yes, he is. He'll get a shield and be able to grab the Punisher.
Snitch's skill against Rhaegar was so important because before they used a lot of tools to try and maybe get Sonya, and they didn't. So resources were committed to the fight, and that's when Expert said, boys, we got this. They go in, but then Snitch is ready and he confirms the kill against Rhaegar, and that's where the tide turns against Expert, and Dignitas can grab the Punisher.
Dignitas moving towards that bottom side right now. They don't have any pressure to have to push this bottom lane. They can grab a keep wall, but no real responsibility to grab much more than that. Their big major power spike comes in 2 levels. We always talk about it. Tyrael and the Holy Ground.
Yeah, Holy Ground for isolation, and especially around the Shrine. You have so many choke points where you can use it. At this point, it's just that level lead for Dignitas that gives them the confidence. In 1 level, they will hit level 16 talents, and that is going to be huge. They will dominate that map and paint it blue, as there's more than enough camps that they can still be taken.
For now, they have to keep the paintbrush away, as they have to wait for that level 16. Team Expert needs to find a way to get back in the experience. They're a full level behind, and they're going to go ahead and start spreading out, grabbing the Merc camp in the top right to get that pressure, to get them a little bit more room, and if they can, find a target. I feel like isolation and picking off a target right now is great for them if they can get it done before the next Shrine phase.
And I want to see what Bad Bunny in particular does now with Haymaker, what kind of plays they have set up here, because he can always make sure that he pushes Dignitas out of the fight. If they can isolate one, even better. But I really want to see if in the end it's worth going for Haymaker to get these plays, or if Avatar would have just been the safer play here for them.
The last fight, he used it on the Kerosene to try and knock away the palm target. So that could be the intention here. Get the palm, drop it away, make sure they can't get the value out of it, but still will be a bit difficult to pull that off fully here. Team Expert still a level behind, but trying to catch up with their opponents as they continue to clear out the waves. And 16 about to hit for Dignitas. And the moment I see that 16 hit, I expect them to get on a target.
Yeah, the thing about Expert is that if you listen to their comps, it's actually really interesting. They're a very, very quiet team in the way that they shot call. We have a lot of teams in the European scene that have a lot of passion. They get really agitated during big fights, during like intense games. Fnatic being one of them, but also a Team Dignitas at times. Expert is always very clinical, very quiet, just sharing information the entire time and making sure that everybody is aware what's happening here. So once they saw that Dignitas takes the lead, the call was just simply, guys, play it safe, get the experience, let them take the map, it's fine. We get 16, and then the Shrine will be active for us to take another team fight.
And Team Expert is working towards that 16. A wave in the middle should award it to them, and they can go to the top and actually fight against Dignitas. Dignitas, though, has already showed that aggression, as expected, with that 16 hitting. And we should see them try to slow down the rotations of their opponents here on the right. Snitch very good at that there with that Genji. Top lane also pushing as well. So JPL scouting out the entire team of Team Expert, while on the bottom lane, look at Brightwing. He's doing Brightwing things.
Exactly. Once again, utilizing the global, as they should. And we have also Hunger of the Wolf taken on 16 by Rhaegar. So Curson wants a bit of a bite of especially Leoric, I suppose. We're seeing already Holy Ground come into play, as you expected. And they're trying to isolate one here. That so far didn't work out, but Dignitas is taking the lead now as we have Expert starting to invade the Shrine, and just as they complete also the quest on Murden.
Team Expert putting Dignitas back into a corner. This allows Li Ming to shell spells constantly, looking for that big moment where she hits a big orb. The moment that happens, a throw can move in, and there it is. He moves right on in, but Snitch, he's wanting to fight. Emerald Wind to go for Nick. Nick's getting low, and Ancestor Healing does connect as Curson nails it.
Curson saving his teammate, and the immediate answer. Tyrael gets blown to pieces as JPL dies. Team Expert softening up the targets first. Dignitas engages into the fight, but now they are in trouble. Murden with a deep dive into the backline, trying to go for Genji. The palm does proc at the end, but Genji still falls.
Snitch has fallen, but the Punisher has risen as Zalia will finish it off. We're going to turn around with the Marshall Black King, just trying to buy time now. Finally being taken out, and Team Expert will be able to take out 3 members of Dignitas and turn around and defend the Punisher. A big moment for them.
The important part really is that Dignitas was still able to claim the Punisher. If that would have failed, if Expert gets the kills and the objective, that would have been an absolute disaster for the team in blue and could have even led to the first keep of the game fall at the top lane. But this way, Dignitas has some time to recover. But you see that their concerns about going up against Expert were well founded. Expert has now taken a sliver of a lead in experience. There was a big gap before, and now Dignitas, they can't rely on the lead anymore.
And Team Expert is willing to get aggressive. Bad Benny being able to jump into the fights. But you got to shout out Kirsten in that last team fight, saving Nick with the Ancestor Healing.
Yes.
If that had not occurred, Nick would have fallen, and Team Expert would have had to give up everything in that top side of the map.
That Ancestral was absolutely brilliant. It was exactly what they needed. Snitch wanted the kill. The Emerald Wind isolation so far worked. Polymorph being in there, immediately just trying to make sure that Li Ming can't escape, can't teleport away. And then just before Li Ming dies, it's all of a sudden person who hits the ult and is able to keep her alive. Right now, the teams are, of course, aiming for more control here. 20 is still a far bit away, but we are going to see over the next Shrine phase who has the better coordination in these team fights.
Bad Benny jumping in, looking for a fight. A big combo coming out from Nick. JPL will get low, but you can see the damage potential between 2 members.
And he just made sure that he cleansed the Haymaker. And that was in the last second as Karazim dashed in with a cleansing touch. Half a second later, and Haymaker from Muradin hits, and all of a sudden we're going to see Genji on the other side of the map, and he would die there. No escape. So that was a last moment save that we saw.
Bakery making the big plays there as Team Expert grabs the Mercs on the top side, and Dignitas continues the aggression. And you mentioned 20 a little bit earlier here. As we move into level 20, who has the stronger composition? Is it Team Expert?
The one thing for Expert, which on 20 is absolutely insane for them, is first of all the Twilight Archon on the side of Tacita, but also Sonya.
Yes.
Sonya is such a monster in the late game. She's already a beast on level 16, but once she hits 20, she's nearly unkillable.
Well, the 20 is not here yet, as both teams are about to hit level 19, and the shrines will activate. They'll be here in 20 seconds. It's in the middle of the field here. So we'll see our aggression from our teams as Dignitas is looking for someone to catch off. They were looking for a throw. Bad Benny, though, doing a great job of slowing down JPL, making it hard for him to hit the Eldruid.
The way that Expert moves is also extremely nice here. Always Bad Benny shielding the rest of his team and also looking, of course, for that opportunity with Haymaker. And to get that value, he went on 16 into the Dwarf launch, which is the standard talent to take right now after we've seen the changes to level 7 for Muradin. So he can really engage behind the target. And we're already seeing all of those displacements coming to play here as Karazim dashes around, cleanses out everybody that is in need of receiving one. Here's the Holy Ground and the Sanctification comes in.
JPL with the Holy Ground from Hell looks for a fight there, but Team Expert, they're able to get away, but here's a big combo from Nick. Team Dignitas pulls back, trying to be near Karazim, get the heals coming in, while Snitch will get the face shift.
Bakery so important here right
Baker
now with the triple dash and all those cleanses. Expert getting out once again, and JPL over and over using the Holy Ground to just push them away. Mene even here at that point with his ult, dropping it too. Once again, Benny jumping in deep but missing the Stormbolt.
Bad Benny not quite getting the combo that he wanted. That was their last chance to get a fight before Dignitas was able to get the Punisher. Team Expert fails and Team Dignitas succeeds. They will go ahead and grab the Punisher and continue to start pushing in the middle lane. 20 still looming for both of our teams.
I can guarantee you the adrenaline is pumping in those 10 players right now. This is probably the most important game of the series. Both of them were so worried about winning the first one here, especially Dignitas. Right now, they take a bit of a lead here with the Punisher. They want to get 20 first, and they're starting to push it in. Mene split up to the top. Leoric already at the bot lane. They're trying to push 3 so that they get the experience for the Storm Tunnels.
They lose a fort, but Team Expert defends. Mirrorball really helping out there. That level 16 for Li Ming. 20 hits for Dignitas, but Team Expert is not in a spot to get caught out, and they'll be just fine. And we are going straight into the late game here with our teams having all keeps up. and we have Dignitas 1-4 ahead of their opponent.
And it's all about survivability for Dignitas. We currently have 2 times Stormshield taking the Shroud of the Dead King for Leoric, Nullification Shield on the side of Tyrael, the Storm Shield for Bakery, and then of course the Dragon Becomes Me for Genji, and Ian continuous wins. It's all about the execution, the sanctification. It's the Emerald Wind. They matter in those next fights. And Expert has, of course, reached 20 now as well. And this is really getting tense.
That level 20 going to help out Tyrael. Li Ming has been focusing him as much as she can in these team fights. Finally having that spell shield will allow for Dignitas to force the issue whenever they would like. JPL continues to dance on the bottom side while we go ahead and have our teams fighting for who can push their lanes the furthest here as they set up for the next couple of fights. And they might have one here over the Merc camp.
And think about how all these games, not only in the opening week, but also the first best of 3 of the day have ended. We had so many kills, so many fights, but Expert and Dignitas, they are so familiar with each other that they're really hesitant to commit to big battles right now. 5 kills only after 20 minutes. Extremely uncharacteristic for the two here.
Team Experts still waiting for level 20 on the Murden as well. Could we see the Grand Slam double haymaker?
Well, I guess we could. It's Expert after all. But for now, it's once again the map control they're focusing on. Camps taken. But it could be the one team fight that decides the game. Now, Dignitas has an advantage. They have 2 forts taken. At this point, they still have a fountain at the bot lane. This is exactly where the shrine spawns. Bot and mid lane with a fountain for Dignitas, whereas Expert has lost both of them.
Team Expert, if they grab this Punisher, could push the bottom side, finally get a fort open, but probably not a keep. On the other side, Dignitas, they could.
Yeah, exactly. They could get a keep, and with a few kills, maybe even core. So this is super dangerous for Expert right now. Especially, again, the fountain in the mid lane, at the bot lane. That is so much sustain in fights. If they move out, reset their cooldowns, and get also health back, that would mean everything for them. They're already starting the fight here. Zelia going in with a Royal Focus, making sure that he hits Sonya, reduces the damage. Here comes the Haymaker. JPL in trouble. Dignitas follows up the continuous wins already used as main is trying to create some space for his team. Snitch in the backline, trying to get a bit of damage in, but he needs to retreat, and Bakery is ready with a cleansing touch.
He has to run. Nick hit a Mirable combo on him. Nice job there from Team Expert. Bad Benny, he leaves it in the middle of the fight. They turn around and they eliminate Snitch. Team Expert grouping up on the side here while Nick continues to shell away.
Ethereal, he's in trouble, needs to be careful. Here comes the Ancestral. Curson has his back, and now Dignitas is on the retreat. They want to reset. They want to go to the fountain. They want to go back in again, but with Genji dead, that's becoming an issue. And Expert is taking the lead on the minions, and they will walk away with the Punisher.
Rewind picked up there for Team Expert, keeping up that aggression. Bad Benny continuing to look more, anchoring for his team. This Punisher will easily go over to Team Expert. The question is, how much can they get with this Punisher?
They will get the fort for sure. They are going to try and push for keep here. They might even get it. It all comes down to how can Dignitas react. A big concern with playing the double support Genji style is that you oftentimes miss out on a bit of the damage. And once Genji died, that was a massive problem for Dignitas. The problem is that at the time, they committed a lot of resources, but if they can retreat as 5 and just reset, they're still fine here. But look how aggressive Expert is. They want to get everything out of this one Punisher. They took down the fort, they go for the keep, but Dignitas is answering. They're trying to defend here, especially by using Zelia and the Ominous Ray.
Bad Benny continuing to keep the aggression up. JPL jumps into the fight. Snitch is finally here. There is no Dragon Blade, and the Punisher is still almost full health here. 3/4 of the health bar still sitting up here while the keep continues to get focused down. Team Expert, they smell blood in the water.
Expert said this is the easiest team for them to beat in the round of 8. They're going for it. They want to go for the core. They have the Twilight Archon, but he has a 5 versus 5 seconds until Sanctification, and also the Dragon Blade are once again up. Snitch is in trouble. Snitch dashes out and barely escapes.
But not
JPL is also surviving somehow.
How do they survive here? Team Dignitas is holding here. The core continues to fall 60% down to 50. Bad Benny landing a storm ball. It's going to keep Snitch on the backside. JPL jumps forward, but it's not enough. Team Expert, they get the first win of the best of 3 series.
Team Expert in the straight-up fight against Dignitas is victorious. Great play by them here, and especially after getting the last Punisher, immediately realizing how they can maximize the damage to their opponent. They move in, they drop the wall at the keep, they already put pressure on it before Genji is back, and as the Punisher with the minion waves moves through the fort, it's all of a sudden an open lane to the court, and they use it.
Many wondered if Team Expert could even come into the series and take a game off Dignitas on land, and they have done so. Let's go to our analyst here and get their thoughts on the match.
That is the level of play we're expecting here of the round of 8 for Blizzcon to start things off. A close, high-level spectacle that was ended by what seemed like a 3-minute fight towards the end, and all it took was Team Expert to find that one opening towards the end, Jay Howe. That was extremely impressive.
Yeah, and it was kind of a weird fight for Dignitas because Snitch went all the way in there. Bakery kind of came over, kind of saving the day there on high mobility, but then the minute we saw Snitch kind of use his dash out, well, Murden goes in with that extra range on his dwarf toss, and then from that stun they followed up, and that's all it took to kind of just snowball from there.
I mean, I feel like it was a big challenge here for Dignitas. They made one very interesting decision. Calder, Trickster, they touched upon it. Divine Palm, Cleansing Touch. So we don't have the blow-up comp here, where you segregate the team of Expert and try to kill a warrior. Leoric is good at killing a warrior. Karazim can be, but in this case, they didn't go with that route. So there was only one strategy remaining for Team Dignitas, and I have 2 replays to show you that exactly. Here we have a fight, and we're going to see JPL jump in, and we kind of play it slow as we are. He jumps in with that Eldruin's Might very soon. And from that moment onwards, they're going to flip the switch. Here we see, as we pause it for a second, we see now that we have taken a no-go zone here with that Sanctification. And Rhaegar is being caught in a very awkward position. As we roll it forward, we're going to see Snitch eagerly jump in there on that Rhaegar, go to safety, get out again. And this is basically how Dignitas wants to be playing these kind of team fights. As we play this on, there is a second one. Curson has wisened up on Rhaegar. He needs to stay away very far from that Genji Tyrael composition. So we're going to see a very similar engage here. As we pause it here for a second, a new target has been chosen. In this case, it's going to be Li Ming. Now, she was caught on the wrong side of the Sanctification, and she's going to try and make her way out with teleportations like this. It's a very close affair. Note Curson's positioning. This time, he is much safer. He's got many directions where he can pull away in. And this is why he is no longer an attractive target. As we play it forward, we're going to see that Li Ming drops very low indeed. The Emerald Wind is unable to separate the support from the damage. The Ancestral Healing comes in, and it is huge. The turnaround kill on Tyrael happens with a perfectly placed Mirror Ball from Li Ming. And 2 more kills end up happening here for Team Expert, which goes a long way towards actually having Expert remain even in the game despite losing a number of structures.
I mean, it was a little unfortunate for Li Ming at the beginning of that fight because the cleanse did come out onto her, but pressed up against the wall, it was a little unfortunate that she was in that spot. So, but still, as you're mentioning, Curson with the extra reactions after that, very, very strong to aid that target.
And that was going to be key because, Jay Howe, I think you said it best in the draft analysis, Rhaegar is the #1 target here. Solo support cannot Ancestor or cleanse himself, and so his positioning was key.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out the difference there. It's when you learn from your mistakes, understanding that it's like, hey guys, this Genji kind of hurts, I'm just going to stay back a little bit. You can pick and choose your moments a lot better. Curson, I think, did an excellent job.
The summary of the game for me, felt like it was the battle of the reset. Snitch so hungry for his team to collapse. They had that all-in composition. It was obviously very melee focused, so in the case of defending, they were quite weak in that final push as we saw, but if one reset got on their side, so many times when they find that kill target, they just can't find it. The Ancestral is there. There's some way to stabilize and keep them surviving, but you got Li Ming on one side, Genji on the other. It's that battle of who can flex it first, and it just happened to be Expert were always the ones counteracting with those engages and finding those kill targets with Muradin specifically.
I mean, it felt like a lot hinged on Snitch's play in general. There were some plays at the beginning of the game that looked fantastic and he was able to secure some kills, but towards the end, if he's not doing his job, if he's being shut down constantly by things like the Muradin, it's very hard for Dignitas to gain traction off the back of that.
You can almost see the sort of, as Jay Howe touched on before, kind of a bit of panic, I suppose, of like, I need to try and make a play. He jumps into the back line with a swift strike. He gets Haymaker away, thinking, well, hang on, I'm in the middle of Africa right now. What do I do with my team? He's trying to come back. He's trying to force that fight, but it's just not able to happen. It's not clean cut and executed on the level that we've come to know from Dignitas.
But the thing is, it is all on Snitch's shoulders. He is the only assassin in this competition. And when that is Genji, you lack the sustained damage to soften someone up. So it has to be in this extraordinary flurry of heroics that Team Dignitas finds their solace. Going up against Expert. And let's talk about execution here. Dignitas needs to hit everything perfectly.
Yeah.
Positionally, timing-wise, Expert all they got to do is walk away.
Right.
And then a very big responsibility on Bad Bunny with those haymakers to disrupt Sanctification.
Well, time now to move on here as game 1 has concluded. Expert at the moment lead at 1-0. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and when we return, game number 2.
The 2017 Heroes Global Championship Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
One of the fantastic things about that game, number 1, of course, was the fact that it was so close until the very, very end. Jay-How, there is a good opportunity here for Team Dignitas to be able to bring this series back to a 1-1 situation.
They obviously want to bring it back, but if we actually look at that, that was Dignitas' map choice. They'll have an opportunity to pick first pick or map choice again. I wonder what they'd feel comfortable with. Are they going to be more adept to say, hey, we want first pick this go around, we value that a little bit more? Does that get into your heads a little bit? So Dignitas, obviously, I'm really curious. Like, part of the fun up here, we don't get our program monitors behind the scenes.
Right.
I'm always excited to see the map.
We're about to find out. In the last 2 series that these guys played, Team Expert lost both on Battlefield of Eternity and Sky Temple, but Dignitas lost on Towers twice in their last 2 encounters. So Expert is taking them to a strong map for themselves.
And they've done their homework. In the group stage, Dignitas got to pick map 3 times. Infernal Shrines, Cursed Hollow twice. Cursed Hollow has been banned by Expert. They've lost on Towers of Doom. Here we go. Expert picks Towers of Doom. So Expert, very brainy here in their choices so far.
Imagine that. The mad scientist at the helm leading them along with the rest of the team, of course. A phenomenal team has risen through the ranks. And now we move on to a map that is strong for Expert to round this out 2-0. Will they be able to do it as we head into the next draft to find out?
So if I'm coming into Towers of Doom as Dignitas right now, I'm thinking one thing. Let's go back to something a little bit more true and tried and tested. Let's not try and flare as much as we did last game. It punished us. You see the Medivh coming out there straight away. The respect to the mad scientist, none other than ADRD.
That's right. Important to note that in their last 2 series, in the 10 matches that they played, Dignitas let Medivh through twice, and each time they did, they lost. So
I was going to say, they're going to stat pick Abathur here. The one thing I love about that, they were willing to let Abathur through. Expert knows that they're going to go into Abathur. That's what they do. But what they do back up, we're going to see Murd in here from Expert. Shadow of it out there. But what they do is JPL loves to play ETC. I've got a lot of stats on the ETC, but we're not going to see it. But he loves to play that, right? And so I think that kind of takes it away. It's just a matter of what does Expert kind of pair with it, with that Murden pick.
The biggest win rates here, definitely Murden, Dahaka, and Rhaegar. And Expert, I think they had a smart philosophy for this tournament here. You're in the big stage. You're in front of thousands of fans here. Tens of thousands at home watching on Twitch as well. And then nerves are going to come into play. I don't care how cool you are. So to go with a standard composition as they had in game 1 is a lot safer than something that's so difficult to execute, like Dignitas' draft.
And I argue that kind of draft is one that really holds a lot of momentum in the sense that you get that win, you get that kill, you really, I suppose, get the morale up. Everyone's like super hyped, super happy. You go into game number 2 and you're thinking, let's go for this one. But yeah, the Tracer test, it's been a bit of a talking point between these EU teams, but Expert going to show us straight away.
Well done.
The Tracer has been just kind of a linchpin for a lot of people in this tournament so far. It's been more prevalent than I expected it to be, and I've shared many a breakfast with someone like Athero at this tournament so far, and he has been just saying, give me Tracer all day, every day, and I will win the game.
Tracer, yeah. I mean, a well-played Tracer should pretty much never die in a game. The only question is, can she do enough?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I actually took the time to watch every single one of Nick's games on Tracer from Nick's perspective. I actually watched all of our Tracer players from EU, NNA. I watched all of Phase 2. In terms of pulse bombs landed, one of the highest percentages amongst his counterparts. Also, he had the single highest kill confirms with his pulse bombs. This man, I mean, I know that Nick's not a household name, and he might not be yet, but this guy is the real deal. You get him on volley, you get him on the Tracer, he knows what he's doing, and he is a force.
Do you think it will be Nick on the Tracer and not Athero?
I mean, the options are there, right?
There's options, yeah.
And that's the cool thing. So Athero can still be on an offlaner, Nick can still be on a mage. We don't know yet. That kind of flexibility is powerful. Greymane now. Very strong pairing with Abathur. Abathur Ultimate Evolution copy is fantastic on something like Greymane.
There's 2 different options they could have gone for Expert in that banning situation. Tyrell's nice. Sanctification would provide ample support. Obviously, the chasing potential that we saw, which is once again going to be very prevalent here with a Greyman and a Karazim looking to dive into the back line, but could have also been Lucio as well, would have sped that team up. The Abathur hat works fantastically with Lucio as well. And the sound barrier would provide ample protection to almost emulate a sanctification to some degree.
Just to throw that out there, of the 23 pulse bombs he landed, he confirmed 14 of those kills, which is an incredibly high percentage for Tracer players. There's a lot of numbers out there, but that is an incredibly high percentage. So we will see. Ethereum does play that, but on Towers of Doom, it was something that Nick played more often than not. Again, the flexibility of their draft kind of allows them to go both ways.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you think that's going to be the next choices moving forwards? Any thoughts?
Expert has a few directions to go. They can go with Muradin, solid, versatile, strong, high win rate. They can also pick up Arthas. Arthas does very well against both Karazim and Greymane. He can't be the only warrior to defend against this, because we're going to be dealing with double Greymane with the Abathur copy. So you need two heroes that can defend either of the Greymanes effectively to protect a Tassadar and to protect the main support here for Expert. So this is the choice they'll be making now. What do we pick for that?
If I'm looking at Expert right now, you've obviously gone into that direction of we've gone for a Tracer pick composition. Let's try and keep that theme up. Let's look for more dive. Let's look for more opportunities to try and find those kills. Muradin, Arthas, as you mentioned, the hard CC is there, but they're going to go for that Varian, which is an old counter really to the Tracer, but now they're going to flex it with Garrosh obviously being that new taunt buddy. He's going to bring it back OG.
So that's interesting. Rather than defending double Greymane, we see an aggressive move with Varian and Li Ming picking off a single target, adding a little bit of wolf bite, and you've got a recipe for a big burst on a single target.
You know, there's nobody else with protected, by the way.
Then Varian?
Varian's there, Medivh's there, you know.
Yeah, it's true. Uther's gone, Medivh is gone, so going for that single target blow-up comp is very smart for Expert. Now, Dignitas still has a choice. They can go double warrior here. They see what Expert is putting on the table, a lot of single target blow-up, so it only makes sense to go with heroes that can protect themselves under such circumstances.
Could Leoric come in again, potentially?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
By the way, I think they expected the Varian the last time they played on Towers of Doom against Dignitas was earlier in Phase 2. Varian was the counter towards Tracer that game.
Oh.
And there's the Zalia Arthas.
That's an old combination that they ran a long time ago, back when Alex the Pro G was on their team. Muradin Arthas used to be their absolute go-to as a front line to be able to coordinate with one another.
I love this by Team Dignitas. I expect to see another Divine Palm coming out of Karazim. He will protect either himself or Greymane. Muradin and Arthas can take care of themselves. Dignitas has an absolute firecracker of a draft here, and I wonder if Expert will be looking for solutions to deal with this.
This final pick for Expert now, because let's talk about this. Varian isn't that strong until level 10. He's looking to try and actually get to that sort of stage of the game. Generally speaking, you look at the global or some strong wave clear to try and get an XP generated, try and find yourself in that position. Dignitas, of what they've shown so far, yes, they've got the Abathur for the split push, but then they've got a very sound foreman that are looking to collapse, are looking to abuse that levels 1 through 9.
I think Grubby makes a perfect point here, because with all that protection on the backside, Tracer can't be your only damage dealer. They might end up flexing Ethereal onto the Tracer and getting some range damage here for Nick. Instead, they opt for the Leoric, which has that percentage-based value. So dealing with that heavy front line, those big health pools, they end up getting the Leo. I'm actually a little bit surprised at this.
Yeah, same. Leo leans a little bit more heavily towards both map control as well as damage against warriors with that percentage-based drain. Final note for me is going to be that Expert would love to get to the late game again. Level 20 Tassadar, Twilight Archon, just saying, last game, the cooldown was available again, and he still had the Twilight Archon available. That kind of Infinity Archon is absolutely amazing. But before level 20, I don't know if Expert's draft looked that good.
It's really interesting, the changes that we see here. Putting Snitch, he used to play a lot of Vala, he used to play a lot of Greymane, and so there's a lot to be said there about the carry style. Obviously, the Genji last game, I think he's more comfortable, but it feels weird because Mene, it's like he's like Merlin's ghost, right? It's like he used to be the Mage's master, and now it's just like, all right, well, you're now our Abathur player, which used to be Snitch's role.
Said it before, said it again. I think that the initial early game for Dignitas is fantastic. It's strong, and it's going to come down to Expert manipulating the map in such a degree where they don't feel that weakness from the early game. They don't find themselves compromised or caught in those situations, which Dignitas are hungry to find. If Dignitas find this early game, I feel like it's very hard for them to release the pressure that they generally sort of capture. But Expert, after last game, anything's possible.
Well, it's a good map for them as they have beaten Dignitas in the past few months twice on this map. We're heading over to our commentary team now as Towers of Doom might decide Team Dignitas' fate here at Blizzcon.
Dignitas possibly on their final lifeline here pulls out a composition that they are very comfortable with, but will it be enough for Expert?
It's going to be definitely extremely interesting. The first map, as we said, Dignitas was worried. Now they find themselves behind, and it's just a question of whether the draft for Team Expert is good enough. Interesting variant choice here as well. Maybe even trying to pick it away from Team Dignitas. Yeah. But if that was the intention, which to be honest I doubt a little bit, then it backfired hard.
That's right.
I'm super curious, especially how the Abathur is now going to change it as the X factor in the draft.
It's been a few weeks since we've seen a variant for EU, but let's go ahead and hop into it here. Game number 2, Towers of Doom. There is a chance for Dignitas to tie up the series or Expert to grab the 2-0 and move on to the semifinals.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting one way or the other. We have 2 of the left in blue. Once again, our European team, our first European team with Bakery again on Kerosene. JPL on Merdin at the front line. Mena plays Abathur for them. We have Snitch on the damage with Greymane. And of course, Zelia on Arthas. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Team Dignitas!
On the right side in the red, Curson will start the composition with a Rhaegar pick here. Bad Benny playing the Varian. Look out for those engages. A Thorough Angel playing the Leoric and playing the Tracer. We're going to be having a Thorough on it. ADRD finishing off with the Tassadar. Give it up here for Team Expert.
There's definitely a lot to talk about here, but let's begin with the level 1 talent on the side of Abathur. Mena chose to go into the pressurized glance, which of course tells us already that it's going to be a heavier symbiote focus for especially Greymane, but also later on Arthas and even Muradin. Even Karazim can really benefit from it, and with the high mobility that Karazim has, he can chase down targets together with Abathur. Now there are a couple of options for Abathur players here. We could even see a hybrid, as oftentimes toxic nests are higher prioritized on this map to interrupt rotations, to slow them down, and to also have that poke damage. Team Expert in the past has played Abathur with a huge focus into toxic nests here, and even tried to set up huge traps where they are attempting to kill a target outright. That's something I think this doesn't quite follow, but with the lineup that they have, they are really trying to just extend a little bit more the strengths that already exist in their setup.
Personally, I wouldn't mind the nest build. It's great against slowing down that Variant, especially post level 10 when he's looking for those fights, and will set up the kills here for Team Expert. If he can slow down the movement from Team Expert, it's going to be harder for Tracer to get those kills. The damage is quite low, actually, for Expert.
Yeah, the level 4 is what I'm interested in. If it's going to be Adrenal Overload, or if Mana is going to run a bit of a hybrid here, which is possible. Same time now, we have at the top lane, the 1-on-1 we expected with Arthas going up against Leoric. Zelia, of course, with his level 1 going straight into Consume Vitality here. But the one thing that really worries me when I'm looking at Team Expert setup is their Tracer. This is something that Dignitas has to be concerned about. It's just going to be rough because Nick is fantastic on the hero.
Yeah, just clarifying here, it's actually Nick playing that Tracer there, and he was one of the scariest Tracers we've had actually in the HGC this year. Him and his Chromie are his best heroes here, so Nick will be looking to get in and apply as much damage as he can. Already JPL has to run away.
Yeah, and Nick has really grown as a player over this entire year, and it's something that has been echoed by the Korean teams as well. They really respect him, especially the Chromie that you pointed out a moment ago. Is something that they're oftentimes concerned about when playing against Expert. Expert is actually trading extremely well into Korean teams, in scrims, especially MVP Black, who say they're so difficult to draft against and we just don't know how to crack them.
Well, the 3-altar phase has already begun and both teams have grabbed one for now. The top left one is the only one left for contention, and Thorough actually misses out with the creepy hand here and has to sneak on back to the top lane.
Yeah, so at this point, Dignitas gets the extra shots in. It's 2 altars right off the bat, so Expert slightly behind. A bit of a misstep here, definitely, by Leoric. Has to be careful there. And also, we have Adrenal Overload now taken. So with that, we have now the increased attack speed, which is, of course, especially going to benefit Karazim.
Yeah. Karazim, Greymane, even Arthas to a degree. A wonderful pickup there for level 4. But getting pinched in the middle of the map here is Bad Benny as Dignitas will walk forward and get first blood.
Answering once and for all the question if you can actually kill Variant.
The answer is a major yes. But the problem is he still has to go to level 7, and that's where he becomes unkillable. But Team Dignitas definitely coming in here and making noise already. However, look at this top lane. A Thorough is really pushing Zelia back.
Yeah, but as you said, Dignitas is looking for the kills now, and they have to be aggressive, especially with them being behind in the best of 3. You need to win this map and force the third if you want to somehow stay in the tournament here. And JPL at the bot lane, still dealing with Nick, and at any point, if they later on can just chain the lockdowns, get a Stormbolt, a Howling Blast, and somehow lock Tracer into place so that Greymane can capitalize off those lockdowns, off the CC with a kill. That would be fantastic for them, since Tracer is still the main damage dealer for Team Expert.
It's going to be difficult. Things will get better, though, for Dignitas at level 10, with Go for the Throat being an option for them, diving towards that Tracer and trying to eliminate her. Team Expert and Dignitas are doing pretty well in terms of experience, pretty even at the moment as they work on grabbing the camps here, the bottom side being pushed in, though, as Dignitas grabs all 6 of them here as Rhaegar went to the very top.
Mena with the Vileness now, the movement speed slow on level 7 for Abathur, so still trying to slow these rotations down a bit. But Expert has a heavy focus onto the top lane, whereas Dignitas is attempting to control the oh-so-important bottom lane of the map. And they grab the bell tower. 5 versus 3, because we still see Xaylia holding the top lane.
That's going to be huge here for Team Dignitas. Grabbing that early allows for them to anchor on that bottom side. Now, luckily for Team Expert, the altar's on the top left and the top right side. So if they come up here and get one of the trade-offs, they can then go to the bottom and try to get the best tower back.
But the trade works in favor of Dignitas.
True.
If they can get it, that's fantastic for them. Curse, on the other hand, is already channeling through, and so far Dignitas has not started their own. Question is, does Expert really feel comfortable enough to just move in? And they don't. They let it go for now. They trade the 3 shots against 5 and accept that they will be at a bit of a disadvantage for now.
Both teams just looking to get to 10 here. Dignitas showing more aggression than Team Expert. Expected that change when both bombs become available, and also Varian when he comes online. The ever so important taunt, going in for the engages, locking down a target and attempting to blow them up.
Yeah, right now the top lane is where Expert is focusing their attention to. Now they have 2 choices here. They can either attempt to take back the bell tower at the bot lane, but they don't really feel confident enough to go up against Team Dignitas toe-to-toe in these fights just yet. They are focusing on the top lane instead, trying to at least trade for a bell tower on the opponent's side. But Xaylia is always there. And Abathur is the X Factor. He always helps out, and we see it again. Xaylia moves in, Abathur jumps in with the symbiote, and immediately Aethero and Curson have to retreat.
I love how safe, though, Xaylia is playing. Even with the Abathur hat coming in, he's not chasing past the line of minions that get destroyed there. He knows that Team Expert could show up, and Team Expert has shown up. They bring all 4 to the top. They want this 4. They want level 10.
They're done with it. They're saying, okay, 2 are not enough. How about 4? Can we get it now? And even with Mena and Abathur, Xaylia just says, all right, this is not working out here.
But Dignitas responds beautifully. They grab both mercenary camps here, getting 6 sappers pushing on the bottom side. And if they can get a couple of these to peel forward, Team Experts can take more shots to the core. Defending this will be difficult.
10 versus 10 as well. Leoric in the mid lane. That's where he meets Arthurs. Down here, Varian is trying to stop them for now. But as you said, any shot that they can push through would matter in the long run. But so far, Expert is doing well with the defense. But they are spending a lot of time as the Arthurs are activating again. And Expert has pulled it off, at least for now.
Bad Benny protected enough there to make sure he's set up and defending against the push coming his way, and now they will step forward, and they have 2 things they have to do. They can either A, go to the top left here and try to circumvent and go for the fight, or take back this bell tower, and they've chosen to elect to stay back here on the backside, allow Leoric to be in the middle lane, soak a little bit, and delay the top altar while they attempt to take this bell tower back.
Mena currently positioned in the mid lane with Abathur. He could move to the top and try to slowly whittle away at the ammunition of the fort. We have the channels going through in the meantime, and that's the first 4 shots fired. Expert goes down to 23 against 33, but we have 1 altar still available. Expert opts to take down the bell tower on the bottom of the map, though.
And they're going to give away the altar. A few more shots going for Dignitas as they take a very, very clear lead here. 33 to 20 of their opponents. The problem is Team Expert map control is going heavily into their favor.
And of course, we all know that this is a map where in the early game you can give up a lot and come back swinging later on in the game when your entire composition just gains a lot more momentum. And that's what Expert is doing here. They are sacrificing an advantage in the early game, even though it is an Abathur composition that they're facing here, and they are willing to play for the late game. And at this point, they hold 5 against 3 of the bell towers.
They hold 5 and 3. Mercenary camps being grabbed from Dignitas. This continues to be their game plan. To steal away the mercenary camps, they can clear it quickly with the Kharazim and the Greymane. And they grab the second one on the right. Now Team Expert will be forced to defend, but is this the time that they decide to go ahead and elect for a fight here? That Varian is ready to charge forward and bring the taunt.
Leoric is at the top lane, so it's very unlikely since Abathur could help out right away. But talking about taunt and talking about Leoric, with taunt being used, March of the Black King can gain a lot of value in these fights if that is synced up properly. So there's definitely a lot of blow-up potential for Team Expert if everything is locked into place. Now, Leoric pushing the top lane is going to give Expert potentially leading experience, and it's very unlikely that Abathar can stop that push. And at the top lane, there is now even a camp moving in, so someone has to react to it, or that's going to be 3 shots for Team Expert.
Nick is going off right now. He just stopped 3 sappers from charging forward and jumping on top of that bell tower, but bringing in that melee strike there from Tracer. And now he's looking for a fight. He moves in, does some damage to JPL. Not going to be able to get a kill, it looks like here, but he pulls away. And Team Expert is showing they're not afraid of their opponents. They just need to find the right fight.
Yeah, they're definitely in a position where they're willing to take the 4 versus 4. But as we saw with the picture up at the top lane, that camp went through. That's 3 points off the core of Dignitas, so they're down to 30 hit points on the core against 20. Still a comfortable lead, but they need to be careful, especially since Expert is now hitting level 13 a bit faster.
13, that's it. Leoric is on his way down, but carries him on the backside. Bakery is doing his best to grab the altar, and he gets it easily. Mane goes forward, but this is an Ultimate Evolution clone. If it falls, it's no big deal.
But they were able to get the altar. That's a big deal here. They actually pushed forward so much that Expert had to retreat, and that time window was used by Dignitas to channel through. That was actually extremely well done, considering that they had talent behind. It was brilliant.
Team Expert needs to turn up the fire soon here. They're behind 30-17. Things they can do: get aggressive on the mercenary camps, try to force their opponent into a scenario where they take a fight finally. The thing was that Team Expert was a bit slow in that rotation. Leoric hanging in the middle, getting that 13, finally decided to pull on back, but Dignitas right now is just very courageous. They are very willing to move forward consistently, and once again, they take another Merc camp.
Dignitas can't let up. That's the problem they have right now. If at any point they really lose control over the game and Expert gains momentum, that might be the end for them. So Expert is trying to gain that advantage, gain that momentum, but so far they haven't really found the targets yet. Nick is always poking away the entire time, but we have a flank coming in as Arthas goes in, tries to lock down, doesn't hit Nick though. Tracer moves away, but Abathar has retaken the bell tower up to the top.
That he has. It means 4 for 4 on terms of shots here for our teams. Bakery goes forward. A Stormbolt will connect. JPL having the flank there. ADRD using Dimensional Shift to get away. Nick also getting hit with the Howling Blast. Dignitas just seems to be outplaying Team Expert at every single turn.
But Expert is doing a fantastic job with at least the Zero just moving from lane to lane and making sure that he gets the experience for his team. They are still a little bit ahead. So it's an interesting game since Expert is angling for the experience advantage that translates into a talent advantage and then looks for the fight. But Dignitas is really keeping the distance really close. And Min in particular is just soaking experience everywhere, but also jumps into the team fight when he's needed.
As I tell my Rainers in Hero League, at some point we have to come fight though. Team Expert needs to group up and get into an engagement, and this may be the chance here. 3 altars spawning as it will be the 5th phase here as Dignitas and Team Expert are looking for a few more shots in the core.
Abathar moves forward. He could go for the channel here. We already have Muradin anchoring for him, making sure that he is safe and protected, and a potential interrupt against the Thera as he tries with Leoric to channel through. JPL is there. Shots are fired, literally. Bakery once again trying to do the same down here, but Bad Benny moves in and makes sure that he gets the interrupt, at least for now, and they are trying to get that second one. It looks very likely that they will get it. 2 altars against 1 once again, and that means that Team Expert is down to 9 points on the core.
26-9, but they do get a bigger advantage in experience. Only slightly, though. About a quarter of experience over their opponents, but it might be enough to get them towards level 16. Team Expert was aiming for 2 altars during that phase, but Dignitas, applying the pressure, using Abathar wisely, are able to continue to extend their lead. And they're looking to go ahead and dance on side here. If they see an opportunity, they go in, but Dignitas doesn't have to do anything that requires too much pressure.
Expert is going to give this one up. They're half a level away from 16. They know they hit it faster. They don't want to fight for this camp just yet. They want to get 16, and then they will try to be aggressive and make a few moves here. But they are running out of time. It's 9 points on the core. That is just not enough to play games here. Main is going to lose that copy, but they are winning the bell tower, and that is huge. Leoric at the top lane is reacting and trying to pay them back in kind. Very likely to claim it in a few seconds, but both of the teams are nearly at the same time hitting their 16. Expert needs to, at some point, just go for it.
Dignitas and their superior control of the mercenary camps are proving to be a bit too much here for Team Expert. Sure, they're even in experience, but way too far behind and losing out on their bell tower on the bottom right. You remember how long it took them to take this bell tower back last time? Now in the late game, when Dignitas has more kill potential, it's even more difficult.
And Leoric didn't get the one at the top lane yet. He will eventually, but he's missing down here now. Cleansing touches there for Dignitas. The power spike is huge for them, and they're trying to use them right now. the big engagement tool with Muradin, now relying on 16, finally on this Swarf launch. They have 5 of the bell towers. Leoric will grab the top, but Dignitas is putting in the pressure, and they are the ones looking for the kill.
Nick sidesteps and engage there from JPL, just barely not getting hit there with the heavy impact, able to back up, harassing where he can, but he has to be careful. One time if he gets caught here, he will fall victim to Dignitas as they continue to control the bell tower on the bottom side. The top finally does fall here as Team Expert will be able to grab the bell tower back.
Mena's going to shift position with Abathar's body pretty soon to put the pressure on over there. For now, though, they are still aiming for the next altar. And if they can channel this one through, there would be 5 points on Expert's core. Boss plays are still available here as well. This is getting closer and closer, and Team Expert, as we said, they're running out of time. They have to take a chance at some point.
Both teams fighting over one lone altar. JPL and Zelia move forward to control the choke on the right side.
They're going in, they're trying to go for the kill here, but immediately Leoric is already moving out. Zarkin is being popped by 80 already. It's strike. March of the Black King. Oh my god!
A thorough gets a huge value of March of the Black King. He turns around. He wants more. JPL finally helps secure the kill, but Nick is looking for the clone. He takes it away. JPL backing up here, hoping to heal on up.
And at the same time, we actually see Bakery using the palm on the clone here. Clone is destroyed, but it's still a 5 versus 4, but it is Expert who gets the channel. 22 points against 9. This is still back and forth over here. And right now, it's 17 versus 17. Dignitas is on the move. Once again, they're trying to control the camps. They know that Ethereal is not back just yet. They aim for the kill. They want Tassada, and they might get him.
The Ancestor healing does miss, but Zelia gets focused down. Will he fall? He does. Curse goes in for the bite, gets the kill. Snick's trying to retreat here. Nick, he wants it. He has to back up, though, with the tower hitting him.
And also the bell tower is retaken. They need to retreat, and they need to retreat fast.
Todd.
Bakery, does he have the dash?
2 seconds.
It doesn't look like it. He barely gets away. He gets the cleanse in, but Bad Benny is already waiting for another quick charge, and he doesn't get it. Taunt was ready, but JPL with a stun.
JPL with the save there, but Team Expert with it all said and done gets a 1-for-1 trade, but they take back the bell tower.
And this game is not over by a long shot. 9 points are all you need here. 9 points against 22. Expert is starting to take the camps, and they have some momentum going for them now. We have at the top lane the bell tower that will be reclaimed as Greymane moves in, and Snitch, with the help of Abathar, is going to have an easy time reclaiming it.
But with Snitch being in the top lane, it's a huge tail to Team Expert. They know they can go ahead and commit to the bottom left bell tower. They move straight on in. But Dignitas, they make an aggressive play themselves. They move up for the boss here with Bakery and JPL starting it. Snitch will finally join.
They have the vision at the bot lane. They know what's happening, but Leoric is sniffing it out. Ethereal will be too late here. He tries to go for it. He's trying to buy time. Ethereal is being attacked. They're going for Leoric. He moves back out, and he dies.
No, he turns around with the punch. He's turning around here. Baker's getting low. Finally, he will fall. Team Expert made the call to give it up, but a thorough almost taking a trade there.
If that March of the Black King would have kept him alive long enough for them to come and help him, that could have ended in a disaster for Dignitas. I saw him die 3 times there before he actually went down. But still, 5 points on the core. But the Storm Talents are going to hit earlier for Expert, and altars are spawning, but it's a single altar on the map. Dignitas, they only hold 3 bell towers against 5, but that's still a hit they can take.
Dignitas may have to consider to give this up. Right now, they're trying to force a fight, and Team Expert is doing everything they can to evade said fight. Zelia taking some damage here. Cleanse will be used there, as we're going to have the Kerosene coming in and saving the day. With that 20 about to hit Dignitas, they give up a few shots here. 5 will collide with their core, but Team Expert are trying to catch them on the retreat back.
20 isn't there yet, but they're trying to take the camp down. 1 last pumpkin, 2 pumpkins still surviving for now. Finally, 17 minutes in, extremely late, we see the quest talent on Murden completed. At this point, the Storm Talents for Expert have hit. 5 bell towers against 3. Dignitas wants the experience, and Expert is trying to build up that momentum that they so desperately need to make sure that they close the gap in core points.
This bottom bell tower is everything for Team Expert. Constant pressure with them grabbing the Merc camp, trying to keep Team Dignitas in this area. This is great for multiple reasons. One, if the Ultra spawn top, Dignitas will be down there, the rotation will be slow. If the Ultra spawn down in that area, Team Expert will be able to have the control and an anchored location to move into.
And Mene is everywhere in this game right now. He has 21,000 experience points gathered against the 7,000 that the rest of his team has on each hero. When we're looking at the siege damage, on the other hand, it's really Leoric that takes the cake here. 150k as Abathar sits at 120,000. Both of them, throughout the entire game, have done an exceptional job pushing the mid lane, pushing the top lane, and always trying to get the experience and the wave clear going.
Team Experts still setting up camp here on the bottom side. Dignitas looking for something they can grab. They could possibly move in and grab Leork on the top side, but if a Thorough is quick to respawn, he should be able to escape. He drops the Wraith Walk and he gets away, but he's still low on health.
Yeah. Barely gets away here. And the 20 is something that I am actually worried about for Team Expert when I look at it. Hive Mind taken on Abathur. Rewind with Muradin is going to be a huge game changer here as well. And the Legion of Northrend. Survivability is huge, especially with Bakery also picking up the Storm Shield.
But Team Expert, they have superior positioning right here. They're able to control these chokes. It's going to be hard for Dignitas to move in and force this fight.
And let's not forget the Twilight Archon value that we actually saw in the last game already. Death March now too. This is going to be, there could be the one fight. It all depends on it. Is Dignitas going to be able to win it? 19 minutes in, Arthur's completing his quest as well. They're going for Snitch. The palm is there, maybe a bit premature, but they are able to save the target. That's the most important part.
The palm was way too early there from Team Dignitas, and they may have to give this up. Yes, they decided against it. They're going to give up the shots, and if 4 more collide with Dignitas' core. 12-5.
Oh!
Nick moves in, and he stuffs Snitch.
Nick with a kill, moving in, he sees an opportunity, and he just drops gaming.
JPL gets low too, and Team Expert now has gotten a major kill here, taking Greymane out of the equation for 49 seconds. This allows for them to control the map and continue to move in for camps.
Dignitas is starting to lose the control over the game. It's 11 points against 5, and Team Expert has sniffed blood in the water. They are moving in here. We have the rotation to the top from Team Dignitas. They are actually willing to take the shots at the bot lane, but they want to reclaim one of the bell towers. They want to have the 5 versus 3 here, but Expert is moving to the top. The shots are fired at bot lane as the sappers come through. 8 points against 5. This is getting closer and closer.
8-5, and Dignitas was unable to grab that top bell tower. With everyone disappearing from the bottom side, they pulled back and they played safe. They grabbed the mercenary camps instead and allowed those to push by themselves, while Team Expert grabs back the bell tower in the middle.
And as I said earlier, Expert, if you listen to their comms, if you watch them scrim, they are always calm. Clinical approach to the game, sharing information, very, very quiet. Just say, where do we go? What do we do next? Whereas for Dignitas, there's a lot more emotions usually riding on these comms. So at this point, they can't be happy. They've been so far ahead, but Expert has played this calmly, collected, and they waited for their chance. Dignitas is getting nervous here, and you can tell by watching the game.
There will be one more piece available for both of our teams in about 20 seconds, and that is the boss. It will be spawning to the very north here for our teams. Leoric continues to double soak top and middle lane, and luckily for Team Expert, they have control on the bottom left side, and they're forcing a fight on the side here. Varian, he's protected. He's kiting backwards.
Here comes the Ancestral. The shots are going through at the bot lane, but Dignitas wants to fight, and they're getting it. They're trying to go in once again, but at the same time already have the shot. The palm is connecting this time. Snitch is still alive. They're trying to go in. Here comes the Avatar copy as they're trying to get the kill against Nick. Nick moving away on Tracer barely. Mena about to lose the copy. Here comes Muradin. Tracer is down at 5 versus 4. But Dignitas finds themselves on the run as Leoric is still at the top.
JPL, he's going to fall Leoric. He's channeling the top left corner. If he gets this channel, he'll be able to take the game here. Zalia's about to fall as well, but the 5 shots come in. Team Expert has stuck Leoric, and they have gotten the victory over Dignitas.
Team Expert take the victory. Dignitas looks for the 5 versus 4. They accept the camp at the bot lane to go through, and they bank everything. Their tournament life on the one team fight, and they end up losing it. The 4 versus 5 goes over to Expert as Leoric is at the top and channels the altar through 5 bell towers against 3. And Expert is victorious and proceeds to face off against MVP Black in the semi-final.
You talked about it. Team Expert, calm, methodical, and it showed there. Their entire tournament life going to a game number 3 may have been on the line, but they still called Leoric. Go ahead, run to the top side, grab that altar. He even went to the other one there, knowing Abathur could delay it if need be.
And he tried.
He tried to. And we saw the win go over to Team Expert. Gotta love the calm gameplay.
Absolutely insane here as well from Dignitas. They just said, we have this one chance. Let's take the team fight. We have vision on Leoric. We can take a 5 versus 4. And they got the kill against Tracer. But then all of a sudden, Muradin falls. The entire rotation gets slowed down. Abathur can't stop Leoric from channeling through. And with the 2 camps that have been pushing through just a little bit earlier, and the 1 tower taken, it was just enough for Expert to take it with a 2-0 against Dignitas of all teams.
Ridiculous. Well, enough from us. Kevin Johnson is ready on the stage there with Bad Benny. Let's go over to him.
Thank you so much, Trixler. I am here with Bad Benny. You are a visually relieved player here. You are so excited, I can tell. I got to tell you, when we heard the interviews from Dignitas going into this match, they were concerned with a best of 3. You might pull out some kind of crazy cheese strategies or something like that. You guys played solid, clean, heroes of the storm. How are you feeling right now after that victory?
As you said, very relieved. I honestly had no idea how it would go, because Dignitas series usually go to like the length, and then it's a coin flip. So we're very happy we managed to do a 2-0, and yeah.
Well, you should feel very confident, and I have to ask you right now, does this win really seat you guys as one of the best teams in the world that can stand with the Dignitases, the Fanatics? Do you feel that way? Do you have the confidence that it takes to win this tournament?
I have the confidence, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so going into the semifinals tomorrow, MVP Black, what are you thinking?
They looked really strong today versus Freedom, but we've had pretty good results in them versus in practice, and we kind of know what they want to play, so we are pretty confident, actually. We're more confident going to that than we were today, I think, so.
All right, well, I'll let you go celebrate with your team. Thank you so much. Congratulations once again. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, Team Expert takes an incredible 2-0 victory over Team Dignitas. Let's head over to Caleres and the crew for their thoughts.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Indeed, 2-0 to Team Expert. What a victory for them. And I follow other things, you know, in the world. And in something that I follow, we have a chant, which is fight forever. And I really, really wish we got to see these two teams fight forever. As much as it was a 2-0 victory, the games were so close. That final fight down towards the bottom, such impressive feats from both teams.
A completely different atmosphere from the other series as well. This very long period, protracted tension, and then finally culminating in 1 or 2 team fights. This is the kind of high-level play that you would expect from Europe's finest, where no one makes any silly mistakes, any early kills, just very fine tension, truly.
That standout play from Nick down there in the death zone at the bottom, just absolutely insane. The get stuff there, me and Grubby over here going on about it. I talked about Nick in the draft, and I really want to emphasize how amazing this guy has progressed throughout the year on this roster, and he shows it there, and he'll find himself in the top 4 tomorrow. That's awesome.
I mean, we had concerns about the draft as well. We're thinking, man, this competition's so one-dimensional. It's Tracer or bust. Where else do they go? You were saying about the Leoric as well. Like, not too sure if I'm really sold on this idea, but they brought it to late game, which was their strength. They find that ability to turtle and snowball, and not snowball, but I suppose stall out, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it is like that. Expert needed to get to level 20 in order to have a fighting chance.
Yeah.
They were very far behind on core shots by that time, but Tracer is going to end up being instrumental. Let's jump into this replay here. I've got 2 short, really cool moments here. They're not going to be incredibly technical at first. We see Nick here as we play the game. We see that Nick is going to be jumping in like this on Snitch. He's going to threaten Snitch. Look at this. That's the taunt. Stop this for a second. Get stuff talent here on Tracer means she can instantly blow up any target. Greymane right now is in kill range. I believe Bakery did not make a fatal mistake here with the Divine Palm. I believe this is truly, as we play it forward, a battle of wills. Nick and Bad Benny completely represented a kill on Greymane. As we play this forward and we get to the second replay here, they sold that kill so well. And Bakery had no choice but to use Palm. The only mistake here really, let's look at that again, okay? Because that went a little bit fast. Do we have any slower play here that actually works out? As we see, Nick coming in here, blink, 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 goes on Greymane. Boom. That went very fast, didn't it? And that's that level 20 talent. By using the melee ability on Tracer, she can instantly proc her Quantum Spike and kill a target. It wasn't the early Divine Palm, I believe, that got them killed. It's the failure to recognize that within the Divine Palm downtime, Nick, by baiting out that palm, would try to find another kill somewhere on the map. And this is, in the end, what gave Expert, I believe, the best chance to win this game.
I mean, there were concerns also, if you're looking at the draft of Dignitas, who reliably do you actually kill? You know, they're all these beefy targets, quite elusive to that same manner as well, but you're thinking, okay, they have this strong early game, they have this control squad, this sort of like five-man ganking squad, so to speak, and that was a big part as to why they dictated those shrines and found themselves in a position as they did. But Expert, they stall, they get a pick like you described, and they come away with a 2-0, which you wouldn't imagine was going to be the scoreline going into this head-to-head between both EU powerhouses.
A big question, Jay, how that arose a few months ago was actually when Expert was able to go to the Western Clash over Team Dignitas and then able to make this the final going up against Fnatic. Everyone's like, but that wouldn't have happened if Team Dignitas was here. That wouldn't have happened if Team Dignitas was here on a LAN setting. And then, you know, they played twice in the phases, etc., and it was very close each time. But on a LAN setting, Team Expert versus Team Dignitas, a very different story to what we all predicted.
As Kevin pointed out, the relief on Bad Benny's face showing up to such a huge stage. I mean, we had a huge audience watching that here live, so you know the pressure is going to be there. The fact that they can step up their game in a live setting, as you said, yeah, they come in as the number 3 seed, but I think we all know that in Europe, it's always kind of been about a top 3.
Yeah.
Liquid kind of fell off. Expert happily picked that up. And as you said, the second place at Western Clash, it seemed like just a step in the right direction. This is another monster step for them to continue on.
What stood out to you, Jay, when you were able to kind of observe Expert as you did over these past 2 games?
The thing about it is that they started to, I guess, it really relied on Nick. I really can't speak highly enough about them. I've watched every single one of his Vala games, his Tracer games, things like that from his perspective. And it seems like when I compare him to other people in his region, in North America, I've watched all these games from individual perspectives. He does a lot of the little things right. That thing that Grubby pointed out is one of the single best plays you will see, baiting that out. And it's moments like that. It's just another notch above everybody else. It's that we've always known them to be weird. They've changed their draft. They still have all the little macro tricks that they do that only in Europe really exist. So that's why I think Bad Benny's like, hey, we had good results against Black. Black doesn't have the same familiarity, so there's a lot that they do. They put a lot on the shoulders of Nick, obviously, I think, in that carry role. And then, of course, their macro game, it really seems they're coming into a form that is a strong contender.
In a best of 5 against MVP Black tomorrow, though, what are we thinking?
Expert looked good today.
Yeah.
I'm still a little shocked that Team Dignitas has been eliminated from the tournament, but it's by a very worthy challenger. Expert looked good. MVP Black looked absolutely dominant, but against probably a slightly weaker opponent. So I believe we could have quite an even match on our hands.
Yeah, definitely if it goes to the full best of 5. And of course, MVP Black is no stranger to the idea of something like a Medivh causing some problems. So that's definitely something that they're going to have to consider as well, Skimmy.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to obviously run your mind back to what happened with Roll20 when they ran with the Medivh and they ran with the Diablo, and they said, look, this is what NA do, and this is how we're going to try and beat the Koreans and, you know, bring you down that little peg from your high horse, so to speak. But I mean, yeah, in the best of 5, there is obviously a lot to discuss. There's a lot to envision. I think it comes down to the draft. Once again, this is MVP Black, arguably the best drafting team in the world. Are they going to be that one step above and have that much that they've stuck and sort of hidden away from the Korean boot camp that Expert got to experience?
On the flip side, this is I guess for a team like Team Dignitas, a round of 8 here on the international world stage. Not where they wanted to be at all, unfortunately for them.
No, I don't even remember what they answered. I think they answered top 1 only, right? Because we ask all these teams their ambitions for the stage, and we kind of want to see how upstart teams rank themselves. Do they have humility, or do they have grand dreams that far exceed people's expectations? For Dignitas, it's almost like we don't even have to ask. They want to be number 1. They've been number 2, they've been number 1, they've been number 3. They want to win, and now top 8, it feels strange, but I feel like they're going to have to go into a period of soul searching. Dignitas has been one of the biggest household names in Europe, and to lose out here in the quarterfinals, it's, for them, I imagine, unacceptable.
Well, exactly. I mean, on the LAN stage, this is their lowest performance since 2015. That's a long, long time ago for a team like Team Dignitas here, Jay Howe, to feel that kind of level of defeat here, unfortunately, for them.
I really tried to figure out what it was that made Dignitas just not seem at the top. We saw the double support meta kind of come into play. It forced Snitch off the flex role over onto the hard carry role. Mene, obviously known for playing mages, but with all the different armor in the game, it makes them a little less appealing, things like that. That burst style, you need more sustain. And so it's felt a lot different since they made that change, and it almost feels like the meta maybe got a little bit of them here in the second phase, obviously failing to qualify for Western Clash. Picked it up in Europe, showed up here, but I really wonder if the meta, maybe as Grubby said, doing some soul searching, maybe a little bit of practice on some different heroes. We'll see them, I'm sure, going forward, but probably a different style.
Well, of course, 72 heroes in Heroes of the Storm currently, with a few more going to be joining us later down the line, of course, with the reveal of Alex Straza and Hanzo. Very excited for that. But of course, the key art here for Blizzcon for Heroes of the Storm is an itty-bitty little guy called Probius. Okay, he's kind of big. He's a pro. But he can be pretty big. But he's small all the same. Let's head over to Probius, who is with Solid Jake.
What's up? Thank you, James. And yes, I am here with Probius, actually. He's about 6 feet tall here at BlizzCon 2017. And Probius, who are you rooting for here at BlizzCon 2017? It's a kind of a weird opinion there, Probius, but I'll accept it. I'll accept it. Now, Probius, we know a lot about you. You joined us here in the Nexus this year. But before that, you had that epic defense on Ire where you had to defend off the Protoss. What was going through your mind when you were summoning that pylon to save your forces? Yeah, it was pretty scary. It was pretty scary when that was going down. Probius, when it comes down to it, who is your Protoss best friend? He likes Artanis. Tassadar's kind of lame, but he's all right, I guess. Well, guys, Probius is going to be roaming around all weekend long here at BlizzCon, and I'm going to be meeting a lot of the players that are here at the event, behind-the-scenes footage, all on the Blizzard Heroes of the Storm esports Twitter account, so be sure to check it out. Check out Probius, as he'll have his own stream roaming around, and we'll see you later. Back to you, James.
Thanks very much, Solid Jake. Don't let him cannon rush you, that little guy. It's a feisty one. As we continue things here for the HGC 2017 finals. Always nice to hear from Probius. Actually, we don't really get to hear from Probius too much, but there we go. It happened.
I'll tell you what. I had some crazy times with Probius a few years ago.
Oh, yeah?
I was really. I can't talk about it here. You know, proxy gating, forgating, but him and me go way back.
I remember all of that in StarCraft 2. Nice stuff. Nice stuff. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. We are ready to go to a short break, but when we return, we have 2 more round of 8 matches coming for the HGC finals.